Okay, we'll get started with our meeting tonight. We want to welcome everyone to the West Haven City Council meeting. My name is Rob Vanderwood. I'm the mayor of West Haven, and we'll be calling this meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, August 7th of 2024, and it is now 6:05. We're a little bit delayed in our last meeting, so we want to get started with our opening ceremonies, and we'll start that with our Pledge of Allegiance by Council Member Dixon and our prayer or moment of silence by Council Member Saunders.
Please stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're so grateful for the many blessings that we enjoy. We're grateful for this beautiful city that we live in. We're grateful for our country, and we're thankful for service members everywhere and the sacrifices that they and their families make for us. We're grateful for our police and firefighters. We ask a blessing to be with them, of safety. We are grateful for the athletes that represent our country in the Olympics. We pray that will bless them and in their endeavors. And we ask a blessing to be with us tonight, that thy Spirit will guide and direct our thoughts and actions, that we will do our best to improve the city and help the citizens that live here. And we ask these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Dixon and Councilmember Saunders. And we want to thank everyone for being here tonight as well and participating. Our next item on the agenda is our public presentation. This is for residents attending this meeting. We'll be allotted 2 minutes to express a concern or ask a question about any issue that is not on the agenda. No action can or will be taken on any issues that are presented. Do we have someone that would like to come up at this time? When you come up, just state your name and address, please, for the record.
My name's Dale Beebe. I live at 3062 South, 2850 West, West Haven. I've got a concern with the drainage issues on 2850 West and 3100 South. Sent an email out to many of the administrators of the
I think we all
city
got it
today. And anyway, I've lived on that street my whole life, basically. As a 10-year-old, I played in every one of the houses as they were being built down that street, and bought my house from my parents in 1990. Originally, that street was maintained by Weber County, and then in 1991, the West Haven City took over, and I've never seen any drainage maintenance done on that road at all. And we're, the last two springs especially, we've been swimming. The residents on the east side of 2850 have nowhere for their water to go. And technology is a little above my pay scale, so I didn't get pictures sent with those emails, but I'll get with my wife and get some sent out as replies to that email, and we'll get that added to those so you have a little better idea of what we're dealing with out there. I'm gonna kind of turn it over to Max now, and he gets the brunt of it. We all pump water down there. We try to, but we just don't have anywhere to pump it. We can't put it in the canal east of us, Wilson Canal, and we can't put it across the street. We just don't have anywhere to put it, so we need some drainage added in down there. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. State your name and address, please.
My name's Max Creamer. I live at 3086, 2850 West. I'm Dell's neighbor. Been there for about 20 years. Like Dell said, since I've been there, I haven't really seen the county do any maintenance there. I live on the corner. Like he says, I get the brunt of it. We have nowhere to pump it. My basement's been flooded out twice where I've had to cut the sheetrock up the first time up 2 feet, replace it. This last time I had it all finished, I've put 2 sumps in thinking that would take care of it, and that didn't handle it. Been looking at putting a 3rd sump in. I think it's almost in vain because there's nowhere. Basically, I'm pulling it from the ground, circling it back up to the top, and it's coming to the ground. So I've got 40 years in construction. I went down and looked at where we've put the new gutter in. It's actually higher than the flow line on the east side of the ditch. So that side doesn't even flow anymore. And it's gotten worse and worse with the inundation, with the new construction coming in and the new homes. So I'm just wondering what the city's gonna do to help me out. I'm tired of pumping money into fixing my basement. So what you folks can do, I'd greatly appreciate. I'm willing to put, little backbone and sweat into it, and help whatever needs to happen, so.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kramer.
Can
Appreciate it.
I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just curious, if, like, how much is obviously it's getting worse over time. Is that what I'm hearing? And can you point to anything that's maybe possibly increased it?
So what happens is along 3100, the ditch there can't flow and go out like it used to. So what happens is all that water backs up, and as it backs up, last year and the year before, the back third of my property is under about 6 or 8 inches of water.
Okay.
And there's an old ditch line between me and Dell's that migrates and comes down. I put a sump on the north side of my house trying to alleviate that water coming in, and it's not enough there. So I'm gonna put another sump in, but I'm just bailing water out of the boat and putting it back in, so to speak. If we can fix the drainage down 3100 and get it out to the field where it used to go, or even put a storm drain system in. Obviously, if we can grade it and get it to flow down, that'd be the cheapest route. In all these new communities, we're putting storm drains in. I guess my question would be, why can't we do it there? Definitely, if we can get the water off of 3100, that just backs up. It's on a corner lot. It comes clear up into my front yard. Your water meter's under 2 inches. The cap is under 2 inches. I put a sump in there trying to get it, but it flows all the way through my house, and then it just starts flooding my basement, and I can't finish my basement. I can't do anything with it, and I really don't think this 3rd sump's gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
Thank you.
well, appreciate it. I know our city's looking into this and trying to get some answers to it, so.
people did say they did put a length of pipe down west of 2850. I haven't really looked at it much, but anything we can, you guys can do would help.
Okay.
So,
All right,
like
I know the city's looking into it at this point to see what we can do.
okay.
Anything else? Ricky?
No, I think we can speak offline. I asked Ed, the engineer, and Scott, our public works director, to provide a written response, and so I think that's what they're prepared to do. So,
And I've talked to some of the folks that are out there. I've been out in my boots trying to dig to get the water to flow. Part of it is the one neighbor does have a small pipe that restricts some of the flow, but it just doesn't flow out from there. Mm-hmm. It's just not flowing. I don't know that pipe, I've even offered to get the pipe and get equipment and put a bigger pipe in, and they're willing to let me do that. But it just, something's got to be done. I can't keep.
Let us get a response back to you guys, and at this point, and then we can, if you have more concerns or questions, you can
Okay.
definitely address that. Does that sound fair?
You bet. Thank
Okay,
you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to, is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. Let's see, let's go ahead with our upcoming events. We have our senior lunch bunch that will be up and running on August 28th at 11:30 a.m. And we held it just as a trial period over at our new community center. I think it worked out pretty good. Councilmember Call was there. It turned out pretty good. So we were happy with that. We found a few glitches that we needed to get taken care of before we open it up for the public use. We have our Arts Festival on September 21st at 5 o'clock. We have the Weber County Fair that's running starting today, the 7th through the 10th. And for those here at this meeting, if you've applied in and put in for your legislative dinner, that's coming up on Friday this week. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. And we have the Western Weber County Active Transportation Plan Open House that will be August 22nd from 2:30 to 4 o'clock. And I think that's at was it the Roy Library?
Marriott Slaterville.
Oh, that's right. Marriott Slaterville. My apologies. Yep. So it'll be at Marriott Slaterville Community Building there. And let's see. I think, was there anything else that we had for upcoming events we needed to talk about? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item on here, item 5. This is a notice for increased property tax for Central Weber Sewer District. And I have a memo here from the district that I'll share with the community. So what it says on here is proposed tax increase for the Central Weber Sewer Improvement District. The Central Weber Sewer Improvement District is proposing to consider increasing its property tax revenue. The Central Weber Sewer Improvement District tax on a $520,000 residence would increase from $144.43 to $157.30, which is a $12.87 per year increase. The Central Weber Sewer Improvement District tax on a $520,000 business would increase from $262.60 to $286, which is a 23.40 cents year increase. If the proposed budget is approved, Central Weber Sewer Improvement District would increase its property tax budgeted revenue by 8.86%, or a $1,531,000 above last year's property tax budgeted revenue, including eligible growth. All concerned citizens or legislative entity representatives are invited to the public hearing on this tax increase. The public hearing is on August 19th at 6 p.m. over at the Administrative Building located at 2618 West Pioneer Road in Marriott Slaterville, Utah. To obtain more information regarding this tax increase, citizens may contact Central Weber Sewer Improvement District at 801-731-3011 or visit the website at www.centralweber.com. The main reason I think for this increase is just due to the increase of growth. There is so much more. They're running at 37.9 million gallons per day in the calendar year of 2023. They've had 4 comparable districts along the Wasatch Front with similar scope of responsibility, and they continue to have increases on those product that's coming through. So if you're interested in attending that meeting, we give you the dates one more time, is on August 19th at 6 p.m. over at the Administrative Building at Central Weber. Any questions from the council? Okay. All right, we fulfilled that. The next item on the agenda is our council updates. Does the council have any updates you'd like to share? Tonight at 7 p.m., there is a tree planting over at the Kenneth Baldwin Park for our Gavin Peterson, the young man that was that passed away not just recently. and we're looking forward to making sure that we represent. I know this has been a very social media situation with this young man, but if the public would like to attend that, it's over at the Baldwin Park at 7 p.m. tonight for this tree planting and celebration of life. So thought I'd mention that. Is there any other council updates? Okay, move on to item number 7, action on consent agenda. This is the city council, item A is the city council minute meeting held July 17th of 2024. Item B is for Nielsen Homes for $159,575.27 at the community center draw at number 4. And then C is the Thurgood Excavation Incorporated for $149,747.25.
D.
And item D is for CXT Incorporated for $114,453 overall. Does the council have any questions on the consent agenda?
That's right.
There's one more added on here. Item E for Vicky W. Meads for $55,974. And this is for the 2700 West Road acquisition overall. So we have those items A through E on there. Is there any questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve items on consent agenda items A, B, C, D, and E.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? Okay, we'll go ahead and do a roll call on that. Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders, excuse me, Councilmember Call,
Aye.
and Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries on the consent agenda. Next item on here is item 8. This is for our public hearing for the purpose of receiving public input on amending an ordinance regarding City Code 33-007, the consolidated fee schedule. I'll go ahead and turn that over to our city manager. Is there any concerns or issues we need to know about that, or before we open it up to our public hearing?
No, I don't. I do not believe so. We could give a highlight of it. So would you prefer that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So Amy and Dan worked on this ordinance, and it is related to.
Ed Pearson.
Oh, pardon me. This is related to the building fees. So essentially, what's come to our attention through an issue that recently occurred was that our current fine that is in our fee schedule does not accurately act as a deterrent for individuals who occupy a structure without a certificate of occupancy. And so what's being proposed is a fee that we feel is comparable to a comparable alternative, such as a rent a hotel room. And we would propose something in that realm to act as a deterrent for people illegally occupying a structure without a certificate of occupancy. But with that said, Amy and Ed could certainly add any additional insights.
That pretty much sums it up, because it was only like 100. It kind of, the last time we had to impose it, it was like $100, and frankly, that's cheaper than getting a hotel room, and so, and we also added in there criminal penalty too. It's an ongoing criminal penalty if we want to go that way.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So we don't want to walk around boxes while we're doing our inspections. Is that what it is? Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Does the council have any other questions on this? Okay, I'm open for a motion on this one. Oh, hold it. We got to do our public hearing. Jumped ahead there. Okay,
Did
I
have
need a motion
one
to.
question if there was a way to have this, I guess we just need to look at it every once in a while, because if things go up, probably should go up with Like you mentioned, the cost of hotel.
According to, because there's two portions of it. One is the 33.07 that we're changing, but also the consolidated fee schedule that we're amending because it was 1% of permit value per day. And when we passed the consolidated fee schedule, it also made it so that we could review those on a yearly basis, review all those fees on a yearly basis.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan. Any other questions? Okay, I'm ready for a motion to move to public hearing.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We're in public hearing now. If there's anyone here that would like to come forward, please do so now. Seeing none, we'll move out of public hearing. I'll need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll go ahead and move on to our next item on here. Item 9, action on public hearing. Action on ordinance 24-2024, amending an ordinance regarding city code 33-007 and the consolidated fee schedule. Any other concerns or issues the council wants to bring up before we ask for a motion? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve ordinance 33-007 and the consolidated fee, an ordinance regarding city code 33-007 and the consolidated fee schedule. What? Oh. Sorry. I have a hard time reading these. Action on ordinance 24-2024, amending an ordinance regarding city code 33-007 and the consolidated fee schedule.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in a couple seconds.
A third.
Any further discussion from the council on this? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
and Councilmember Call.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries on this. Thank you. We'll move on to item 10. This is for a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public input on amending an ordinance regarding city code 90-02, nuisances, abatement of weeds. Is there any input that we need to receive on this one before we go into public hearing?
You know, I would just say a summary, and Dan and Amy also participated in this, and really Dan kind of shepherded the process. And I would essentially what this does is it'll amend our current ordinance related to nuisance as it relates to lands that are nature parks, natural drainage areas, storm drain basins, to have an exception relative to the height of vegetation in those areas. And it does allow for property owners to request that the city mitigate what they perceive as a fire hazard and create a fire break. And at that request, city staff would go out and create a fire break depending upon the type of vegetation, the type of open space.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Yeah, in reading through this, do have a few questions, but I'm ready if you guys are ready to open it up for public comment or public hearing. I'm ready for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? Okay, we'll go ahead and all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we'll move into our public hearing. Does anyone have anything they'd like to come forward on? One at a time. Okay, seeing none, we'll move out of our public hearing at this time, and I'll need a motion for that.
So
I'll
moved.
move.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on that? Okay, we'll go ahead and do all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're out of our public hearing and we'll move on to item 11, action on public hearing, action on ordinance 25-2024, 24, amending an ordinance regarding City Code 9-02 for nuisances, abatement of weeds. All right, any council have any questions about this or concerns? I think my only concern is that the example of having other cities involved with it, and then our Parks and Recreation Department is making those determinations. So my question would be that, you know, should this be our fire deputy that's more involved with it than our staff in making determinations on this, or do we feel confident in allowing the staff to dictate that fire barriers?
Well, there are some parameters, and we did, Dan did reach out and talk to the Weber Fire District, and one of their recommendations was relative to the wild urban interface and that code, and we didn't think it naturally applied. And so, all told, I think we feel comfortable that these proposed requirements will mitigate fire hazards, but we could certainly discuss it more, and Dan could speak to it a little bit more in depth because he was certainly more involved in those conversations and processes than I was.
How did the council feel on any of those? Was there any questions or concerns? Pretty good with it the way it is?
Brock works pretty closely with Fire Marshal Dave Reed, and so having and I know this because Brock and I have talked, and Dave Reed and I have talked about that. So the department actually has worked really well with both the district and so just an observation that way.
But, Mr. Mayor, just one thing, just to put some emphasis behind this is more of a reactionary approach to management, just because of the breadth of open spaces that we do have. Mm-hmm. And so it's really based upon request of homeowners rather than us going out and proactively, creating these fire breaks. And so, part of it is if residents really identify and believe that there's some concern, we would certainly do our best to mitigate those concerns within, what we reasonably can do. And that's sort of the approach and philosophy of this ordinance.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I'm looking at liability, I think, the most, where we've got staff maybe, dictating where that fire break should be. If there's a concern with, if we do have a fire, for example, especially during, this last season where we had a lot of fireworks, and we were fortunate, I think we didn't have any major issues, but if a home's caught on fire or we had areas of concern, just making sure that the liability is within reason of the city or the fire district.
Well, you could actually, if you made you feel more comfortable, in that paragraph 2, when it says the Parks and Recreation Director or Public Works Director, you could add in conjunction with the Weber District Fire Marshal. Add it there, and just add that language right there. But in conjunction, I mean, I know that they work hand in hand with them, but if you just want to add that language in there.
I just feel like it's important for the city to have that confirmation, and even if there's limits that are set, like if it's a certain footage that we need to require, but to just rely on residents or our folks to just set those limits, and if something happened, I just didn't feel like it was probably covering us at a good rate. But
I would say, not to belabor the point, but to maybe hopefully add some quick clarity to the issue is, in these initial conversations, there was conversations with Dave Reed. And I think what Dave Reed was looking at were the ordinances and codes that he had to apply. And one of those is this wild land urban interface, which we're not sure really applies, for example, to the area. I think it could apply to the Privedale Park area, but it couldn't necessarily apply to the Green Farm area. And so that's why we tried to designate and separate these different types of landscape areas. One's irrigated and one's not irrigated, because otherwise I think what Dave's position would be is that it would be a 30-foot fire break that he would like to see according to that one standard that, that he uses to make those determinations. So there was a little bit of a concern about maybe not having the right standards to apply based upon, that one single code being applicable to these different types of open space. So there was a little bit of a departure based upon that.
Yeah, and I see it. I know that's part of the IFA or that overall international fire code that they have out there. And I know that if that's a recommendation by him, I think it's for safety purposes, but I would love to probably have that in conjunction with, our fire deputy or something like that. If that's something the council could look at, if that's something you would be able to live with on this document.
So Amy, what was your suggestion again? What were you saying?
So, at the end, so there's paragraph, subsection 2, and it says, at that last paragraph the last sentence before it starts A and B, it says adjacent property owners may request the city mitigate a potential fire hazard that may exist upon these lands, and thereafter the Parks and Recreation Director or Public Works Director, and right there I would add in conjunction with the Weber District Fire Marshal shall, and then subsection A, subsection B.
Is
Can
that-
we make the motion and with suggested attorney language?
Yeah.
Can we say it that way?
You could say it that
He
way.
doesn't want to repeat.
All right, then I'll take a stab at it. I move to approve action on public hearing action on ordinance 25-2024, amending an ordinance regarding City Code 990.02 nuisances, abatement of weeds, with changes suggested by the city attorney.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on there. Any other discussion from the council on this item? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
and Councilmember Call.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to item 12. Planning Commission meeting recommendations. Action on ordinance 26/2024, the amendment to the cluster subdivision ordinance. We had a discussion about this in our work meeting, and did we have anything else we wanted to go over with this?
I think we had decided we were going to table it for more information. Is that what everyone's thinking?
I have some things to discuss before we do that.
Okay.
I do too, which is why I'm up here. But I'll let you go first.
For me, right from the get-go, I think we need a few definitions here. We've run into problems not defining what things are, which we added, I think, a lot to the mixed-use ordinance. So we are stating that the land within the subdivision for recreation use or open space, what's the definition of recreation use? Right? If we're going to throw it in that we put down a teeter-totter and called it good, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of need a definition of what does that include, or do you guys know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I wonder.
Because we had to lay all those out in mixed use. It said like cultural, whatever it was, and we kind of had to define those. So
Yeah, and we can use those same definitions or something similar.
I think in the PRUD, it has a definition for open space. We don't define that in the cluster one. There's no definition of what open space is. So that goes back and forth between them, that list recreation uses under the defined open space and the other one, but I think we should have those definitions established in both of them.
Yeah,
Or
that makes sense.
reference to somewhere where we have all the definitions.
Right.
in 5.74, the open space substitution. That's all stricken out except that there shall be a minimum of 20%. Are we stating there that that's based on gross land? That's based on whatever was defined before of, well, actually, I think that's only in the PRUD.
Yeah, and I can clarify that. So yeah, it is based off of growth, but I'll make sure to clarify that for a cluster.
We have that set up too as a full acre, or we, it's a 40.
I think it's the full, like we've defined that in
Mhm.
another
Set
ordinance.
it up as a full acre.
Yes, but I can make it clear too.
I think that's supposed to be throughout all of our
Yeah, we
zones now
changed that a while ago.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate, so I can always add it in there again.
I didn't get to talk to Brock, but is he wanting 7
is.
acres as actual grass area?
For the open space, you mean, for the continuous?
I talked to him a little bit, and he just kind of felt like that was a good minimum. We
Yeah.
didn't get into whether it was grass or what it was, but that's
Yeah, I don't
probably
know
a
that he
good
would know
question.
either, but I'm thinking, well, is he thinking, I want 7 acres of playable space, but you're
Sure.
gonna have to have a parking lot, right? If you're gonna
Sure.
have this much space. So how much is he actually?
It's a good
Yeah,
question.
and I mostly just left it vague just to have him set whatever parameters and whatever requirements they want to set. But I can touch base with him again and see, hey, should we have it just be grass area, or how would you like to define it?
So Sacred Farms is 7 acres, and it's got the parking lot and the area, so that gives you maybe just a
Playground.
reference.
Okay.
It may be different in different areas.
Well,
I
sure.
mean,
I'm just saying, is this
Yeah.
saying,
yeah.
in
well,
this, is
you
this
may
saying
just
we're gonna
want-
have 7 acres of, recreational use? Does that include the parking lot? That's my question, right? Are we thinking
Yeah.
about all of the concrete, not just the open green?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good question. I would say wouldn't include the parking lot. But again, I can have further discussion with Brock and see what he thinks about that. Since that would be something that he would be taking over.
Right.
But I don't know. Any thoughts on that? On including the parking lot? I'm good either way. But I was leaning more towards not and just having that be just the green space area.
Because then that developer's gonna have to give up more space,
Right.
right? And so are they reading this as saying, well, my open space includes the concrete, the parking lot, right? So I'm
we
giving
just
you,
need to
Yeah. So it's just to be specific.
define that.
well, and I don't know. I understand Brock wants that much space so he can have fields, right? We
Sure.
need practice fields. We don't need a playground, just a playground, right? We need space for the kids to have soccer and football and so on.
Right.
So I just reading it, thinking, okay, how are they going to get around some of these things? Let's just make sure that we know what we're getting.
Yeah. No, that's why we.
To bring it up if what everybody thought.
Yeah, I mean,
Might
this is why they were
depend
being
on
updated anyway. Sorry,
Whatever
go
the
ahead.
need is at the time, like,
Sure.
but I think it's a good question to just kind of review with Brock and see what his thoughts are.
And location, right?
Yeah, because you might not, depending on where it's located at, it might need a bigger parking lot or a smaller one, and then if it's a giant one, are we left with unusable green space or whatever? So, yeah, I think it's a good question. I do think that you have left the flexibility in there, right? So that the parks can kind of,
Yeah, I can kind of
Per minute?
dictate that. Yeah. Yeah.
so that may be where we're covered. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to clarify at least somewhat.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see if we can add something in there.
But it's still pretty open and possible MDA that we'd have discussions with it.
Yeah,
So-
we also have that.
Right. I just don't want it to be read in at the surface level of this is what we're going to do. In the 0.576 under procedure. The way that I read that, it's probably not what is meant, but the way I read it is that they're gonna present a concept plan that shows the open space. Instead of like the whole development, you're showing the subdivision is showing the areas reserved for recreation and open space and the proposed use improvements and methods of maintaining them. So to me, it sounds like, well, we're gonna approve their open space and then they're gonna bring us their subdivision.
No, yeah. No, the concept plan should be the whole thing that they're proposing. So I can
Anybody
update
else
that.
read that way? It's just me. It's probably just me.
No, I can see it.
So
Yeah. I mean, it's better to just be clear.
we add some language there that's talking about the whole subdivision, because the focus of this concept is talking about the open space.
Yeah, to me, a concept plan is the full thing, but I'm
It would
happy to
just-
put some language in there
Like
for
if you
that.
put,
Yeah.
showing the whole subdivision plan along with the areas within the
Yeah,
subdivision to be permanently reserved.
it makes sense to me that we see all of it rather than now you get to come bring us your project. Yeah. Under the master development agreement section, number 2, talking about the description, the permitted uses, proposed densities, building intensities, and height. What's the definition of building intensity?
Sorry, I'm still trying to get to that. And you're talking, yeah, for a cluster, right?
Yeah, cluster.
Okay.
Probably picking out colors with your wife. Building intensity.
What is building intensity defined as?
It's intense.
Is it a use issue?
Yeah.
How they're being used?
Yeah, but I can make that more clear so there's not, question about it.
Well, when we're talking about, your proposed density, your permitted, that, to me, that also includes your road widths, your private, are you public, are you, the setbacks. So I'm not sure why there are certain things
Oh, I see.
picked out here and maybe not the others. Do we include all of those things when we're talking about you're gonna have to list out, are your roads public and private? What are the widths? I mean, they have to
Well,
meet
number
the
7
minimum, the standard, right?
talks
So
about any reservations or dedications planned for public purpose.
but I think that would mostly be talking about the park,
Sure.
the open
And
space,
that's how I
number
would read it
7.
too.
So I don't know if it's critical, but it's just something in reading it. Let's make sure we get all that information.
Yeah, and maybe more building use than building intensity. I think that's,
I think I understand what you mean, but
Yeah.
again, I
I
want to make
just
sure
found a
that
definition of it online if you want me to tell you what.
building intensity.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's an actual definition for it.
Alright.
It's a measure of how much built area there is on a site, which is often measured using physical indicators that relate to building bulk. However, more important design quality issues can be more difficult to quantify.
yeah,
Because
but
we use intensity in the other, it's also in the PRUD, same thing. We
right,
use
it's
that-
the same. Yeah, that MDA section is pretty much the same for both.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd just be best to clarify that.
What do you guys think?
That's fine.
Got more?
Oh, anybody else want to take a turn?
No, you keep going.
Go ahead,
We're here
Councilmember
now.
McCall. What else you got?
Dig right there. We brought it up in the meeting originally, but why do we want it to be in all of these zones?
I'm sorry, what was that?
R2, the
Mhm.
R2.5. Why do we want all of those to be in a cluster?
I think that's where most of the development is going to come in, the R2, R2.5. And it's, to me, just looking at the cluster subdivision, that's more of a design, right? Because just looking at that ordinance doesn't add any bonus density. It's just, well, if you want to have a design that has more open space, and you have your heart set on that, it's just giving them leeway of, well, that's fine. We can make it a little bit smaller so you can have that required open space. That was just my thought process on that. It's more of a design that we're allowing in those zones, not just the agricultural zones. I think when someone wants to rezone, they usually go for like an R2 and R2.5. So that was why I added those in there.
Because, you know, I mean, obviously we know that they're all smaller, right? They're just going to continue
Yeah.
to get smaller. So now you've have 6,000 square foot lots where we would have had
The same. That, well, just looking at that density
So-
wouldn't change. It would still be the 6 homes. To me, it's just, well, now you have this field as part of the design of the subdivision. So it's just taking into consideration of a bigger lot versus smaller lots and having that open space. But it's still the same amount, unless they're combining it with a PRUD. That's where it can get, you know, you can combine the smaller lots and have the higher density. But if someone just wants to come in and just use the clustering subdivision ordinance, then it would just be a preference of having the smaller lots with, you know, the green space versus having each one having, you know, the individual green space in their backyard. It's more of a design, at least in my eyes.
Right.
The others?
No. No, mostly those definitions. I don't think the setback should change,
Yeah.
which you had already talked about. Um, we're listing guest parking,
Mhm.
like we're gonna actually build parking stalls in the subdivision.
That's just if they're wanting anything additional. It's just making it clear we don't want it just in one area. We don't have really any requirement of, you know, it has to be. I mean, we do we can look at the amount and that can be discussed in the MDA. But the only thing I really wanted to make clear is we want it to be distributed throughout the whole development, not just in one area at the beginning, and then people would have to walk to visit family member or friend, you know, back there. That's the only reason to have it there.
Because I think we've only had guest parking per se in a townhome neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm just kind of leaving it open, see if they wanted to add any. And that may also be a remnants of the cottage courtyards that originally was part of that ordinance when I was proposing it to Planning Commission. Because typically with that, there's an area designated for guest parking. But that's just kind of leaving it open if they want to include it, but they're not really required. But I can make that clear too.
Well, anytime I read it, we're having guest parking.
Yeah.
To me, that's townhouses, right? That's the only neighborhood that really has extra parking because there's not enough
Sure.
places.
makes
for
sense.
them.
Currently,
So-
yes, but if you look at Salt Point, the houses over there, that neighborhood could definitely use some guest parking because there's really nowhere to park.
Yeah, because the roads are so narrow.
Exactly.
Okay. But if you're saying that there's going to be guest parking evenly distributed,
Mhm.
does that mean if they choose to put 2 over here, now they have to put 2 on the other side?
Yeah. With however many they're proposing, they just can't be all in one area.
But okay.
Yeah. Yeah, to make it fair for everybody.
Those are my thoughts on that one. I don't know if anybody else.
Okay, anyone else? Okay,
I mean, I don't love clustering. Y'all already know that. So
okay, well, we'll need to make a motion on this if we decide to table, or what action you want to take on here. I'm open for that motion.
Well, if we're gonna add definitions and things, we should probably bring it back.
Mhm.
But I don't know if anybody else has other concerns about the 40% or 60%.
I'd like to see it go back to the planning commission and just review and get the definitions and things like that all set before we
Right.
approve it. If you're okay with that.
Well, and I think we're going to talk about adding the other things to it as well. So I think tabling would be the appropriate thing to do.
I'm ready for a motion.
Two?
Yeah, and were we gonna talk about deed restrictions?
That's in the next
Oh, sorry.
ordinance. Mhm.
Okay. We're in the cluster.
But it has to go back to the planning commission. That's gonna set this back quite a ways.
There's, the moratorium will end up expiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just because it expires, I mean,
Does it?
I
have
guess
to
it
go?
depends on the developer. I guess if someone comes in tomorrow,
I don't think it necessarily has to go back to the planning commission. I think you just gave Alika some actions to take, and she just goes and does that and brings it back.
either
Yeah,
way's fine.
I think that's fine.
Okay, ready for a motion?
I will make a motion to table ordinance. Oh, I got to put my glasses on. 26-2024, the amendment to the cluster subdivision ordinance.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We don't have to do a roll call on that, do we? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that will be tabled until next meeting, maybe.
Yeah.
See how it goes from there. Okay, next item on here is item B, action on ordinance 27-2024 to amend to the planned residential unit PRUD ordinance. And I know we discussed this a little bit. Is there questions on this?
Were we going to take a recess?
No. We'll finish up these items on here.
Okay.
For 13 and 14. I know I had some items on the back because I didn't get the back 4 pages in my packet, but I looked them up on here to see what they were. So,
Yeah.
but let's see on 157-438, it has submission of application on there and an item A. It says first line between the words B and 2 need to be add the word submitted. It just missed that word submitted, I think, in there.
Okay.
On 157-439, B was deleted, so we need to change the B to C, the D to C, the E
Well,
to D. all
And
those.
so that's actually what I wanted to touch on. So when it was going through planning commission, that is actually going to be back in. That's no longer going to be stricken out.
Okay,
So B is included.
just notice that on there. 155-440. It should be 157. I think it's at 155.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Okay. And it should start with A, not G, I think. Is that correct? Okay. And let's see, and then there was one more, I think, on here. On 157-441A, line 6. And this is just a basic thing, and maybe Amy will probably argue with me on this one, but approval by, and it should really, in my opinion, should be from the change. Change that from by to from.
Which one are you looking
On
at?
6?
On line 6, A, line 6.
A6.
So so instead of by, you want?
I don't have a
what?
line 6.
It says by on there now,
Am I?
and I would submit for it to be from.
So.
Are you on point?
I don't know what you're
441?
looking at.
157-441
Mm-hmm.
A, line 6,
Do you have a line
So you
6?
want it to read,
No,
the
no.
development agreement shall undergo an administrative review process to ensure compliance with city ordinances and standards with approval.
I don't think any of us have a line 6 except for you, Mayor.
He's counting.
The
He's
city
counting
council?
sentences in the paragraph.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
I got it, we're good.
is that okay?
Well, no, I'm asking, so you want it to say, instead of by the city council, you want it to say,
Just from the city council.
2.
okay, why?
See? I knew it.
Okay, either way.
Yeah, when I wrote that down, I thought Amy's gonna bring that up. 'Cause
Well, maybe, is it just like you like the way it sounds better than?
yeah, I like it that way, but if the council doesn't, that's fine. Leave it by.
I still have no idea what you were looking at,
Yeah,
so.
never mind. Councilmember Morse is out.
I'm fine with it either way, as long as it doesn't change the meaning of it.
Oh, by the from, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
With which one? Me or
From?
him?
From, from.
See?
I have better looking
Thank you, Nina.
You have great shoes, but,
Her car's pretty cool too.
It doesn't matter either way.
I have to win one once in a great while.
While we're on that page, at the top, letter H, concept plan. Should also include the city council, planning commission, and city council shall consider. In the last sentence
Sorry, what was that? What, for 157?
H,
on H, that same
Oh.
page that we were just on.
just above on H.
Yeah,
Okay.
for 4.0.
140H.
It's the last sentence of H. What else you got?
That's it for me. Just a few fun ones.
I actually have one. The application conference up at that same page.
Top.
It says prior to filing an application for a PRUD, the applicant shall arrange it. We need to cross out of.
Oh, yeah.
I think I had that on here. Oh, I did. Delete of. I missed one, sorry. Yeah, I remember exactly which one you're talking about.
Oh, if we're talking about those kind of corrections. 157.343, 434, excuse me, area regulations, which was part of the motion in the planning commission that it should all be uniform to say PRUD. In letter C, it still lists PRUD with the R crossed out.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I grabbed all of them.
So there's two in that paragraph, the C.
Okay. Yeah, at one point it was going to be just PUD, but
But then I wouldn't let them
yeah.
because we would have had to go and try to find them in the whole entire code. And it
Yeah.
was,
So
So
I
yeah.
just noticed those ones.
Any others? Any other changes or?
On the same page there, B number 3 should also be the same by the planning commission and the city council. I think we have the same. We can add some definitions to this. Just like in the other one. For me, when you're looking at the purpose and intent, .431 on the first part of it, I mean, I think we all kind of understand the idea that item B, that this shall consist of a mix rather than standardized group of similar housing. But what's a mix? I could build one house different from the rest and call it a mix. Right? Sure.
I thought there was somewhere else where it defined that a little better.
In this one?
For, you mean, I think you're talking
I don't know.
under how to get the bonus density.
It could be in the.
This is just listed as under the purpose and intent, so I understand the purpose and the intent.
Right. I think you're
I
referring
read
to.
where you defined what the differences were, and I couldn't tell you where it's at, but I thought I read it in one of these two.
For different, you mean architecture? Is that what you're referring to? Councilmember Saunders?
Yeah, I think you were.
Yeah, that's under the,
Are you saying something different than the architecture, Carrie, or? I'm
Yeah,
not-
I mean, we're talking about a mix of housing, meaning like a mix of sizes,
Okay,
right?
sure, yeah.
Doesn't have to be just a mix of architecture.
okay.
So if I wanted to build my
What I was
12.5
referring to was mostly architecture, so, okay, so you're talking something different.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we probably ought to define that.
I mean, that's hard to say. You can't tell them this is what you have to do, but you also don't want them to take advantage of.
No, right, but we can express what we're looking for.
So,
Yeah.
I guess I had a concern in that.
You want something that's like, for example,
I don't know.
a mix is, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head.
One that was considered by the council to table as
Yeah.
well.
I thought we were tabling.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm ready for a motion if there's no other changes on it that we've got right now.
And I guess the only thing we bring up is the discussion we had in work session. Is that something we want to add then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which discussion are you talking about?
Indeed.
The modern income housing, a percentage.
Oh,
That'd
So
be
we're
good.
going to table then.
Mm-hmm.
well, because I think when you're talking about the requirements for additional density,
Mm-hmm.
again, I think they're kind of like ideas like you're saying, well, if it's a 3-rail fence, that's an
Yeah.
upgrade from chain link, but you've listed them. They can include these things, but maybe somebody has a different opinion. Maybe they think that a wood fence is an upgrade from chain link and somebody else says, no, it's not.
So yeah, I mean,
I mean, like, are you limiting to the fencing that you've put there?
mm-hmm.
Right? So you couldn't put in wrought iron because it's not in here, but wrought iron's definitely better than.
And that would be more up to you guys.
I'm
Those were just
saying-
an example of,
Oh.
well,
Is that
You know,
what,
the
is
vinyl, the
that how
brick.
this is written? Is that what's going to come back to us?
It's probably gonna be whatever they propose, and
yeah.
And the council
and
determines
then we say,
Yeah.
I don't
whether or
think
not
that's
an
really
upgrade.
an upgrade.
Yeah, but why can't they say, well, I think this is an upgrade?
I think they can.
Price tells you what is an upgrade.
No, but the developer says this is an upgrade, and we say, well, no, it's not. Because we said an upgrade is vinyl or brick. I read into that. I don't know.
And
No,
maybe
I
I
think
just say
it's-
those are just examples of it.
I think it's
Unless
good
you
to
guys
leave it
want
a
to be
little
strict
bit
on these
open-ended
these are the only
because-
things we're
because
wanting.
if materials change or something like that, and we're like, oh, I wish we had that in there, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know that we can cover everything.
We can't cover all
Possibility.
materials. In my
No,
mind,
I don't
it's-
know if that's what you're asking, but I think it's good to leave it a little bit open-ended. And
agreed.
it's hard because you get into this back and forth.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion to table, if you're ready to table it.
I would make a motion to table ordinance 27-2024, the amendment to the planned residential unit PRUD ordinance.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do you want to add the changes that have been made at this point?
Yes, I added the changes that have been made to this point,
And you're good with the second?
and I'm good with the second.
Yeah.
No, Nina's good with the
You're
second.
tabling it with these changes? Is that what the motion said?
Well,
Is that work
is
for
that
you guys?
okay, Amy? Can we
That-
table it with the?
Well, I mean,
You can just
you could just
table it.
Okay.
That's what I think
Just
we just
Given,
take.
because you've already given
Yeah.
her direction,
Tabled.
just table it.
Okay. Okay.
Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Move on. We're going to walk through 13 and 14 need to be done, and we'll probably table the others that are on here. Can we
We
do
kind of
that?
need to do 15 too.
Hmm. Yeah, may need to table that one.
what, 15?
Yeah.
According to the Fourth Amendment,
Okay,
kind of bound.
let's go to 13 on here, the bid award for 2024, the road striping project. Did everybody get a chance to look through that?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on that project?
None for me.
Okay,
I am just always amazed at how much difference there are in these bids. It's very interesting.
Ed's waited for this moment. He's up, he's ready. What else? Any questions? Okay. I guess we don't have any questions at this point.
I will move to award the bid for the 2024 road striping project to All Star Striping in the amount of $40,900.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. Councilmember Call,
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
and Councilmember Morse.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries on that one. We'll move to item 14 on here, action on resolution 31-24, interlocal agreement between Ogden City and West Haven City regarding the post-closure care permit for the former Molding and Son landfill property. That's one we need to get done, right? Okay.
I just had a question on that. Does that property come to us now and we're in charge of it?
You know, we already have that property under our ownership, and for that reason, we're, you know, we're needing to apply in cooperation with Ogden City for this closure permit because it hadn't previously been done.
Is it zoned? I mean, how do we take care of this property?
Well, so it'll remain what it currently is, which is essentially a reclaimed landfill. There's a cap in place, and that's really what this post-closure permit's about, is monitoring the cap, making sure that the cap stays intact, that there is no movement, which Dan, as part of that on a practical level, that really our responsibility is going to be doing quarterly reports and making sure the cap's been there for so many years, and it seems to be doing its job and without movement. So we feel it's more or less a process we need to go through, but we're optimistic that there's not a lot of issues and it'll be resolved quickly.
Okay.
Any other questions? Concerns? Okay, I'm ready for a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 32-2024, the acceptance of certain nope, that's the wrong one, sorry. Moving up. I move that we approve resolution 31-2024, the interlocal agreement between Ogden City and West Haven City regarding the post-closure care permit for the former Molding and Son landfill property.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on this? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Morse.
Aye.
Councilmember Call.
Aye.
And Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Motion carries on that. Did you have a comment? Oh, okay. All right. So on 15, do we need to do this one?
According to the Fourth Amendment, we were supposed to have done it like 2 months ago.
There were some questions from an email today from a person that was wondering whether this has been completed.
It has been, and
It
the thing
is.
is, according to the Fourth Amendment, it was completed last year. Because the area that she was showing was open space area 2, and according to the Fourth Amendment, we'd actually,
That was part of the discussions we had a year ago because the weeds were so high and we forced them to go and clean it up.
well, and we did, but according to the Fourth Amendment, it specifically states that it was now improved and completed, and that we were going to accept it as of 5/31/24. The other two areas, open space area 4 and open space area, actually 1 and 5, same thing. It lists out, after they completed these items, they would notify us that they've completed them. We then had 10 days to adopt it, to accept it. They've done that. We should have done it back in like June,
Yeah.
and it wasn't, they've done everything that they were supposed to. And I get that there are issues with needing to have those weeds pulled, but the city really needs to take it, and we need to deal with it. because
So
they've
there
done-
are issues
Yeah,
now.
I don't think we just keep pushing back just because there's weeds. I mean,
Okay,
I think the city just needs to take it and
take care of it.
start maintaining it.
They've done everything that's required under 4. And I think in the change between Mike Flood leaving in June and us trying to get the deeds so that they read the way they're supposed to read, which Ryan Christensen has signed off on them, so that they describe the area that they're supposed to describe. They fixed them. We have everything we need. I would recommend we pass the resolution and adopt the space and take care of it.
Okay, so on item 15, action on resolution 32-2024, acceptance of certain open space in the Green Farm project. Any other discussion on that? If not, I'm ready for a motion on that.
Move to adopt resolution 32-2024, acceptance of certain open space in the Green Farm project.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? We'll do a roll call on that. Councilmember Morse?
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders?
Aye.
Councilmember Call?
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. 16 on here. Our city manager said we could table that if you'd like. It's up to you.
I think that would be a good choice.
Okay. If the rest of the council feels that way, we can move forward with a motion to table.
Move to table
Second.
item 33-2024, authorizing a garbage collection rate increase.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries to table that. Item 17, I don't think we have anything on there,
Oh.
and
But there is open meeting training, open
Does it
public
have
meeting
to be
training
done now?
for 2 weeks.
yes,
So
Okay.
we're
Okay.
good, but
thank you for scaring us on that one.
Right.
Okay. And then item 18 is for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
And we're going to Kenneth Baldwin Park. Is that
If you'd like to, yes.